In football, money doesn't just build teams, it builds empires. And when it comes to financial power, two names stand above all: Real Madrid and Barcelona. But while one rose from crisis to dominance, the other stumbled under its weight. So how did Real Madrid outsmart Barcelona not just on the pitch, but in the bank? The answer lies in patience, discipline, and long-term vision. This is the story of how Madrid quietly won the financial war that Barcelona never saw coming. When Cristiano Ronaldo left Real Madrid in 2018, many thought it was the beginning of the end. Losing the club's top scorer and global superstar for 100 million euros was seen as a major blow. But in reality, that sale marked the start of a new era, one defined not by spending, but by strategy. While other clubs scrambled to replace their stars with big-money signings, Real Madrid chose a different path. They didn't rush to buy another Galactico. Instead, they began building a new generation of players, young, hungry, and cost-effective talents who could grow within the club's system. That decision would change everything. Madrid invested in players like Vinícius Jr., signed for just 45 million euros from Flamengo, who was initially mocked for his finishing, but later became one of the best wingers in the world. They brought in Federico Valverde, a low-cost acquisition who turned into a midfield powerhouse. Militão was signed as a young, relatively unknown defender, and has since become a key pillar of their defense. Even Rodrygo, though expensive for his age, turned out to be one of the smartest long-term investments in European football. These weren't just transfers, they were seeds planted for a future that would pay off enormously. Instead of chasing the next big name, Madrid trusted their scouting, their youth system, and their management structure. It was a philosophy built on patience, something Barcelona, in contrast, completely abandoned. While Real Madrid were building quietly, Barcelona were burning cash. After Neymar's departure in 2017, Barcelona received a massive 222 million euros windfall from Paris Saint-Germain. It was the kind of money that could have secured the club's future for years. But instead of using it wisely, Barcelona went on a spending spree. They spent 135 million euros on Ousmane Dembélé, 160 million euros on Philippe Coutinho, and 120 million euros on Antoine Griezmann. None of these signings delivered the expected results. Coutinho, in particular, became a symbol of waste. After failing to adapt, he was loaned out to Bayern Munich only to score against Barcelona in the Champions League while wearing Bayern's colors. The irony was painful, but the financial loss was worse. Barcelona paid record fees, high wages, and saw no return. Then came the infamous Miralem Pjanic-Arthur swap deal with Juventus. On paper, it looked like a tactical trade. In reality, it was a financial maneuver designed to balance the books, one that only dug the club deeper into trouble. Pjanic, already in his 30s, added little to the squad, while Arthur, a younger player, was sold not for footballing reasons, but to manipulate accounting figures. Meanwhile, Real Madrid's board took the opposite approach. They resisted temptation. For years after Ronaldo's exit, Madrid didn't make any blockbuster signings. Fans were frustrated, critics accused Florentino Perez of being too cautious, and pundits said the club had lost its ambition. But what looked like stagnation was actually a masterclass in restraint. During those years, Madrid focused on paying off debts, managing wage bills, and investing in infrastructure, especially the Santiago Bernabéu renovation project. Perez knew the stadium would be a goldmine for the future. With its retractable roof, digital systems, and event versatility, the new Bernabéu isn't just a football ground, it's a year-round revenue generator. From concerts to corporate events, Madrid is turning its home into a business hub that will earn hundreds of millions annually. And then came the 2020 pandemic. When COVID-19 shut down football worldwide, clubs lost ticket sales, sponsorships, and TV revenues. Barcelona, heavily reliant on matchday income and burdened with sky-high player wages, collapsed under the pressure. Their debt ballooned past 1 billion euros. and the club was forced to let go of Lionel Messi, their greatest ever player, because they literally couldn't afford his salary under La Liga's financial rules. Madrid, on the other hand, stood firm. They managed to survive the pandemic without selling their stars or cutting staff salaries drastically. How? Because of years of financial discipline. They had cash reserves, sustainable wage structures, and had already reduced unnecessary expenses. While Barcelona was pleading for loans, Real Madrid was planning for the future. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. Barcelona's poor decisions didn't stop even after the pandemic. Their transfer policy continued to defy logic. They signed players like Ferran Torres for 55 million euros, Raphinha for 58 million euros, and Robert Lewandowski for over 45 million euros. Big names, yes, but all on high wages and long contracts. They also brought in free agents like Íñigo Martínez, only to later let him leave for nothing. That's not squad building, that's financial bleeding. Then there's the case of Vitor Roque, a young Brazilian forward signed for around 40 million euros amid huge hype. But instead of becoming a long-term asset, his story turned into another financial disaster. After struggling for playing time under Xavi, Barcelona ended up selling him to Palmeiras for a significantly lower fee than what they had paid, turning what was meant to be an investment in the future into yet another major financial loss. It was a move that highlighted just how far the club had drifted from sustainable decision-making, once again showing a pattern of reaction over strategy. These errors show a pattern. Barcelona has been reacting emotionally, not strategically. They've been trying to fix one problem by creating another. Every signing looks like an attempt to win headlines rather than build foundations. Meanwhile, Real Madrid's patience began to bear fruit. Vinícius became a superstar. Valverde became one of the best box-to-box midfielders in Europe. Militão turned into a world-class defender. Rodrygo matured into a decisive forward. And behind them, Madrid started grooming the next wave: Jude Bellingham, Eduardo Camavinga, and Aurélien Tchouaméni. The brilliance of this approach isn't just in the talent, it's in the timing. Each signing came with a clear plan: young, marketable players with resale value, low wage structures, and huge potential. Even when Madrid did spend big, like on Bellingham, it was calculated. The Englishman isn't just a footballing asset, he's a global brand in the making. Contrast that with Barcelona's handling of their own young stars. Players like Ansu Fati were once touted as the future of the club, only to be loaned out without a clear path to return. Others like Gavi and Pedri are exceptional talents but surrounded by financial instability that affects everything from squad morale to long-term planning. Off the pitch, Real Madrid's leadership deserves credit. Florentino Perez's financial foresight is often misunderstood as cold or ruthless, but it's what has kept the club alive through the hardest times. He refused to give in to player wage demands that could harm the club, maintained control over sponsorship deals, and ensured that every decision aligned with a bigger vision. Barcelona, on the other hand, became entangled in poor sponsorship management. The deal with Spotify, while flashy, was a sign of desperation. It sold naming rights to Camp Nou, one of football's most iconic stadiums, not out of ambition, but necessity. The club needed cash fast and was forced to trade heritage for survival. And then there's the levers, the financial tools Barcelona used to sell future TV rights and assets to pay for immediate expenses. It was like selling tomorrow to survive today. For a short while, it gave them breathing room, but now, as those payments come due, the club faces another financial cliff. Real Madrid, by contrast, didn't have to sell any of its future. They weathered the storm and came out stronger. Their wage bill remains manageable, their transfer spending remains strategic, and their new stadium is ready to open the floodgates of new revenue streams. When the Santiago Bernabéu fully reopens, it will host not just football matches, but concerts, conventions, and global events. With its modern facilities and Madrid's global fan base, the club is expected to generate an additional 300 to 400 million euros annually from non-football events alone. That kind of financial muscle will make them nearly untouchable in the years to come. And that's the real victory. While Barcelona continues to patch holes in a sinking ship, Real Madrid is building an empire that will last decades. The difference isn't just about money, it's about mindset. Madrid thinks like a business with a football soul. Barcelona has been acting like a football club trying to play business. Even on the sporting front, the results reflect the strategy. Real Madrid continues to compete for every major trophy, maintaining a balance between experience and youth. Barcelona, meanwhile, has struggled to maintain consistency, relying heavily on a few players while lacking the depth that sustainable planning brings. It's not that Barcelona can't recover, they can. But recovery will require humility, patience, and a complete cultural shift. They'll need to rebuild trust with fans, restructure finances, and prioritize the long-term over short-term glory. Real Madrid has already shown that this approach works. Their decade of financial discipline, steady management, and belief in young talent has turned them into not just football champions, but financial titans. So when people talk about which club is the better club, the answer goes beyond trophies. It's about survival, adaptability, and vision. Real Madrid didn't just win the financial war against Barcelona, they redefined what victory means in modern football. In the end, money alone doesn't make a club great. Wisdom does. Real Madrid's empire wasn't built overnight. It was built through patience and purpose. As the new Bernabéu lights up, one truth stands clear. Barcelona spent to impress, but Madrid invested to last. And that's why they won.